Thank you. Thank you. Big round of applause for these filmmakers. Thank you. Come on up, Junie. Okay, wow. Has anyone seen any of those films before? Brand new? Okay, terrific. Now that you've seen the films, we're going to talk about the tool that made them possible. So we're going to dive right in. Let me please introduce you to the panelists that we have here today. First, we have Matthew Carey. He leads experimental teams from Google's Creative Lab to shape cutting-edge AI research into tools and to expand human creativity. His team of filmmakers, technologists, writers, and designers were central to designing Flow and Flow TV, which you saw a little peek of when you walked into the room today, and creating hundreds of first-of-their-kind clips, scenes, stories to inspire a new wave of creative storytelling. Thank you for being here, Matthew. Yes?
Thank you.
Next is Dave Clark. Dave is an award-winning filmmaker focused on embracing new technology as part of his filmmaking. You just witnessed his terrific film, Freelancers, which uses Google's AI tools to tell the story of two estranged adopted brothers on similar quests, with a big twist, I would say, now that they've seen it. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
And finally, let's please welcome Junie Lau. Junie is a film director, a multidisciplinary creative, deeply passionate about innovation, viewing AI as a vital collaborator and expanding the boundaries of creative expression. We just saw her beautiful film, Dear Stranger, which in her words explores the boundless and infinite nature of universal love between a grandmother and a grandchild across countless parallel worlds. It's very powerful, Junie.
Thank you, thank you.
Let me call out who's not with us in person today, but Henry Dubrow has been using tech tools for the past 18 years, and he was able to bring us the story of that creative journey through the first film that we saw called Electric Pink, which we're going to talk about in a little more detail. So we're going to hear about each of our panelists will take us through their process, how they work with Flow, and in general. Matthew, I'm very curious to hear from you. In a broad sense, how do you work with filmmakers, a little peek behind the tool, etc.? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so hi, I'm Matthew Carey. As Bryce said, I work with Creative Lab. We're a team of filmmakers, designers, writers, creatives that come together to kind of shape what tools can be for creatives in the communities that we work inside of. This has been a super exciting process. I come from 25 years of making films in one shape or another, and I came into film school, I'm going to date myself, in the period of digital video and nonlinear editing, and basically all of a sudden overnight it felt like you could make a film with anything you could fit in a backpack. It was like a Cambrian explosion of new storytellers coming onto the scene and just radical experimentation, and I feel a lot of that energy in the air right now. So I'm really excited to be able to hear from the filmmakers about how they're experimenting and playing. We put Flow together with a team of researchers and technologists, tool makers from across teams at Google, really with the intention of building a space where creatives can get into the flow space, can get into the mindset of building something from start to finish, from image to video, so you can get to an idea as quickly as you want to be. And to do that, we brought together all of Google's generative models for creativity in one space. So Gemini, Imagine for image generation, and VO for video generation. This allows you to sort of create stories in a new way and sort of get into a flow that lets you bring stories to life really quickly. I'm going to talk a little bit about how that happens. We're going to dive into the film specifically, but I just want to get us to like a sort of a base level language so that when Junie and Dave go deep, you can really understand more about what they're talking about.
Yeah, great.
So if we go next, so text to video is sort of the first thing that you could use Flow to do, and I think this is generally what still people understand generative video to be, is typing in a text prompt and then sort of getting a video back. The more intention, specificity, precision, creativity that you put into that text prompt, you get different things back out. So all of the intention put into the shadows, describing this specific yurt, the way the legs move, create a really interesting video. But text to video is really just the beginning with Flow. The idea here is that we can start to bring in all different types of methodologies and tooling so that you can start to think about multi-clip sequences and consistency across clips, characters, objects, and scenes. Here we can see ingredients. To build an ingredient, you can create image directly within Flow, so that becomes a way that you can sort of start to build out props, characters that become parts of your stories. you can bring together multiple ingredients to create one shot. So here, that shot of the zebra backseat of the car that we generated combines with jellyfish and this taxi cab structure to create that shot of the jellyfish in the backseat of the cab. But then we can imagine if we combine different ingredients, different characters, they all can end up in that same space doing all sorts of wild, different new things. And you can really iterate fast.
To have the taxi, the jellyfish, you've added these. Have you uploaded something where it's text to image?
That's exactly right. Yeah, you can generate images directly in the tool, or you can bring in images that you've created, photographed, whatever it is,
and
from
use
outside.
them as ingredients for a larger picture.
Exactly, yeah. Another way that you can use image to video is with frames. So frames to video, and you can think about it first frame as this is, you're gonna give it a starting image and then use VO to generate based on that, a clip based on that. And so here you see we give it that image of this lava lamp lady in the backseat of this car and then an action prompt, and we see her looking pensively out that window. Once you get clip that you like, then you can bring it into Scene Builder, and here's where you can start to go from a single clip to multi-clip.
How long are these clips?
8-second clips is what comes out from VO right now. So with Jump To within Scene Builder, this really allows you to create new shots based on the shot that you've added to that scene, and it will look at that shot and start to use the tools to bring in character consistency, the look and feel of that shot, and even look at the action to help you make the next shots feel continuous from one to the next. And this is a really new way to sort of iterate on scenes and storytelling, where you can really start to build quickly into creating sequences.
And Jump To would pull from the initial shot and your ingredients, both?
It'll pull from the shot that comes right before it,
shot,
yeah.
great.
Yeah. So that shot could have come from ingredients, it could have come from a still image or just from a text prompt, but then it starts to pull from that within Scene Builder to create new shots.
Got it. Everyone's following. I'm the slowest. Okay.
The last thing I want to talk about within Scene Builder is extend. So like you said, we have 8-second shots. Now you can start to think about, oh, can I make that longer? So you can pull out that shot and then give it new instructions with your text prompt to have that character or that action take a different shape. This is a really exciting new functionality that just sort of opens up all kinds of new possibilities for where we take these clips and stories. So this is just sort of what's in Flow right now, and what's exciting is that in the coming months, years, there's going to be all kinds of new capabilities that are built into it. Next up in Flow, which is what's really exciting, is VO3. VO3 came out when Flow launched, and it's the difference between what's happened with VO up till now in VO3 is that now all of a sudden VO3 generates with sound natively to that clip. So all of a sudden you can start to think about not just visuals, but sound and visuals together. So VO3, I encourage you to check out online. There's all sorts of amazing stuff happening with it. The last thing I want to tell you about Flow is Flow TV. I really encourage you to check it out. It's sort of like a psychedelic streaming service made out of clips that are generated in Flow. They're sort of thematically and visually connected channels that you can explore. And the idea here is really for you to be able to see and get inspired by, and also learn from what's being made. So all the clips come with a prompt, as you can see there in the bottom. So you can really use these as a way to start to understand how to work with this tool.
Yeah.
You can copy this stuff and bring it into the tool, iterate on it, and build from it.
I found it to be so useful to watch Flow TV. Like, I was channel surfing, I was kind of letting it surprise me, because the specificity of the prompt is really what's so important here, right? I know you're both going to talk about that, but to be able to see many examples of the way it's working and what it feeds you, like, I think this is a central part of the learning experience here. Yeah,
and I think the education piece is so important. It's such a new experience for everybody. So we're trying to really do everything we can to help people understand how filmmakers are starting to use this and get interesting things out of it.
Yeah.
And of course, the most important thing in Flow TV is the work of the filmmakers here today. These short films this is a kind of a growing collection of short films. So with the 3 that you just saw, are the sort of inaugural set. We're hoping that this collection continues to grow, and hoping that maybe somebody in here will make a film that makes it into Flow TV one day and that other people can watch. Cool. So with that, I want to just talk a little bit about Henry's Electric Pink, which we just saw. Henry can't be here today, so I'm just going to give you a little sense of some of the techniques that he used to bring that film to life. Henry's process was really built around a lot of image to video, so giving that start frame and then letting VO give the rest of the video. But even with image to video, it's not just, let me grab that one image and then all of a sudden I've got my thing. It's a ton of iterations. So using Imagine, image generation, Henry created a bunch of different versions of every single shot just to get to the final shot that became his first frame.
Wow.
And you can think
These
about
are all his. Okay.
Yeah, the scale of iteration.
That's probably like a tiny percentage of all of them, right?
Yes. Yeah, you feel it.
And this is just like slightly changing prompts until you find what you need.
Exactly, yeah, really kind of dialing in. And the experience also, I would say, of doing this is how you get better and you learn it and you start to have less iterations. But even once he has a frame he likes, he's then still retouching it to get it exactly what he wants, adding props, taking things out, making the posters on the wall or the thing on the TV or the book he's reading exactly the things that he wants it to be. But then that final frame becomes the first frame of the video that then generates with VO. And that's the main process that he used to create all those wonderful shots in that story for Electric Pink.
And to make those edits, he's using other tools?
Currently, he's using Photoshop, yeah, but the intent is to bring more image control within Flow so that you're not having to leave and you can really start to shape that image and keyframe within Flow.
Got it.
It'll be really exciting. And then just to show that specifically with that really cool multiverse sequence from Electric Pink.
Yeah.
So he generated all kinds of images you can see there on the left, but our character's kind of jumping around in scale and in positioning, and so he retouched all of those until he got the character where he wanted them in the frame, in the center, the same scale, and then went from image to video on those retouched versions, and then brought them into VO, into an edit, so where you can see the sequence there on the right, how it ended up. The last thing I'll say here is Henry used also frames to video, but giving it a first frame and a last frame. So I think you can think about this like keyframing. So you see on the top there, the hands, and then the bottom there is the shot after it's swung up of this, creative spirit creature. And so that VO then interpolates between those two, creating this shot that looks up from the ground to see that creature. One more example of that. And all these shots were generated in Flow, but then Henry brings those into his traditional editing process. So downloading them all, VFX, sound design, music, all of that then happening, and the tools of his choice.
Does Henry work with a team, do you know, or works solo?
He works primarily solo, but I think he also works with musicians, sound designers to help bring dimension to his film. And then I know that he works a lot in the creative concepting phase with other people to kind of get his head around the ideas.
Great.
Yeah. So that's Electric Pink and a little bit about Flow. I'm excited to hear about these other films.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. And it's great to see some of Henry's process and understand how it's all coming together. So, and Dave, you have done this work a long time, right? Many years.
Oh, yeah, I'm an OG.
Yeah. So, okay. So this film, stakes, character development, it's hefty. It's such a fun watch. Can you tell us about the inspiration for it and some of the behind the scenes of the process of putting it together?
No, absolutely. First, I'll quickly just start a little bit about me. It's actually quite serendipitous to be here. 20 years ago, which I'm dating myself now, I was a starving artist just graduating from Pratt Institute right down in Brooklyn. Brooklyn represent, New Yorker, Fort Greene, Clinton Hill, Bed-Stuy, do or die. Thank you. I always remember back then, we were like, man, can we try to sneak into Tribeca? Can we get into a screening? We were all broke, but I just remember just what Tribeca meant to all the artists and filmmakers that graduated from art school. Like that was like, if you could get even just to attend Tribeca, further like premiering something at Tribeca just meant a lot. So I'm not taking this for granted. It's incredible to be here. A little bit quickly about me. I'm also a co-founder and chief creative officer of a company called Promise, which is a film studio that's built from the ground up using generative AI technology. We are a partner with Google, actually, strategically, and they also invested. Shout out Google.
Thank you, Google.
So yeah, I come from traditional. I'm a filmmaker. I learned how to cut film. I learned how to shoot on film. But I also was like one of the first to adopt the digital camera. And I remember shooting on a Red One and shooting on Canon cameras. And I remember those moments with the Spike Jones emerging, and all of a sudden this technology just led to just such fascinating creativity and new mediums and new styles. And I always felt like whenever I was in a place where that moment happened again, I was going to dive right in, and this is exactly what I did about 4 years ago. I dived into generative AI as soon as it came out, and I didn't hide behind an avatar. I just said, hey, no, I'm Dave Clark, I'm a filmmaker, I'm using these tools to try to tell my stories and pitch Hollywood, and kind of the rest is history. But that's a little bit about me. There's a couple of things in my work. Maybe if you followed me, you saw some stuff that I did. A lot of it's hybrid. A lot of it's still working with VFX and stunt crews and things of that nature. So for me, it's at the end of the day, even using these generative tools, using models like VO and using Flow, it's just filmmaking. And I think the more we can understand that it's still a collaboration between artists and technology, then the further we can get along with just realizing it's just another tool that we can use to tell our story. And in the case of Freelancers, it's actually a personal story that came from my childhood. Growing up, actually, before I went to Pratt in Brooklyn, I grew up in Virginia, and I had my best friend who was he was white. I'm half black, half Korean, and no matter where we went, what we did, everyone thought we were brothers. And I always found that interesting because it didn't matter the color of our skin, where we came from, the things that we loved, the little movies we used to make, and kind of show like the town and show all the neighborhood. People just thought like, these two are gonna be, probably going to grow up to be filmmakers. He actually didn't, and I did, and I just find it interesting that no matter what, whenever we get back together, we all connect, and we talk about the latest film, and we talk about the latest ways to make movies, and that never changed. So that inspired this story, which obviously I took it to the next level, so how did I create this? So I'm a writer director, and one of the things I love to do is world build and character build. So you can utilize those skills to prompt and come up with characters. So the way I would describe the two different brothers, so Des Miller is one, I described him as, XCI, he's precise, he's very tailored, and those kind of things make its way into the prompts. And when I'm prompting him in scenes, things of that nature. Versus his adopted brother, Liam, he's more punk rock, he's more crazy, he's a ex-military sniper, he's rugged, unpredictable. So I wanted that really cool dynamic contrast because obviously, when you can imagine when they walk into a room and they're like, this is my brother, people are already going to be like that. But then if they're so, different, just contrasting looks, like it even makes it even more, it pushes it even further. So character building and world building, right? So it's almost like screenwriting. The way I write my prompts is like telling a story. It is actually like writing the scenes. But the cool thing about it, if you're a writer, you remember back in the day when you were pitching, they're like, don't put your character angles and technical details in your script. And if you're a writer director, you couldn't help yourself. Like this is like the perfect medium to do both. And that's exactly how I write my prompts. So with technology like Flow, you could go anywhere. I could make this story as big as I want. I could go to Morocco, I can go to the Amalfi Coast, I can go to Mexico, I can go to Italy. It didn't matter where you wanted to place a story. You're allowed to do that. As far as your imagination can take you. And that's exactly what I did with the story, and that was what was the most exciting. So just really quickly kind of going over some process that I did. Matt talked a little bit about frames to video. That's exactly what I did, but actually halfway through making the film, me and the Google team discovered this hack. Which if you put in an image of, let's say, two characters and you say, in this scene instantly, but then jump cut to both of these guys inside a restaurant or, at a bar or something like that, somehow, some way, the models know how to take those same characters, the way they're dressed. You still want to prompt for it, but then you're able to put them anywhere in the world. And I just think that's just fascinating to me. And the similar idea with ingredients to video, if you really want to get more fine and more fine detailed in, what they're wearing or what the actual restaurant looked like. For instance, you can see in my prompt, I'm using language that you would kind of use in screenwriting. I wanted to describe what the restaurant looked like. It's an artfully lit tree in the center. It's a black man with well-groomed goatee and short, neatly styled hair. So I'm also, in turn, also feeding the prompts what they're also seeing with the image. Now you're doubling up and really telling the model how you want the world and the characters to look, which is just amazing. And then another really interesting thing, I don't know anyone who does any kind of prompting, you can use LLMs like Gemini to use them as a reprompter or a writing partner. So in my case, I like to feed my prompts in and say, I want this to be a little bit more detailed. I want some more nuances here and there, or I want it to be shorter. Or I'll feed in an image and say, look at this image. How would you describe it? How would you describe it in prompting? And it would give me back the verbiage that the model understands. And the cool thing about it, if you're a filmmaker, you speak in technical language, you understand certain focal lengths, camera angles, different types of camera choice lenses, different types of camera movements. But if you feed that back into LLM, it will actually spit back out the way it sees those those technical languages, and the way they actually work is they think about things differently. I remember one time I was just trying to prompt, the camera zooms in on character A inside the setting, and it wasn't working quite right. So then I actually learned that it actually works better if you tell the camera physically to move forward or to walk forward. And it's a different type of language, but it actually understands both cinematic languages. And it's just a really cool kind of dance back and forth that you're having with these LLMs. And then lastly, there's scene builder, right? So we talked a little bit about that. And scene builder is somewhere where you can create scenes and sequences and take your characters from A to B to Z. But it's not the final edit. And I think that's something that's important to notice is, it's a tool to allow you to finesse your story. If you're trying to take a character from A to B to C, Scene Builder is great to quickly put your characters where you want them or with your in the same scene. It allows you to, in a weird way, kind of move the camera around. So maybe you're starting over the shoulder, but you want to now a wide shot of that same character in that same kind of environment, and you can do that. But at the end, it still comes down to understanding storytelling, understanding post-production, editing. You still need to do sound design. You still want to do your own color correction. You still want to edit. I'm lucky enough to be an editor also, so I'm able to prompt and go right into something like Resolve, or in this case in Premiere, or your editing tool of choice. And the beauty of it is you can just go back and forth. I mean, it's so freeing when you're in your edit and you're cutting your story and you're like, damn, I just wish I had one more reverse angle shot of this or one more cutaway shot of that. Now it's not like weeks and months of planning to just try to get that one shot. You just go grab the damn shot and put it in your edit. And it's a magical moment. And it's just so freeing as a filmmaker. And again, I've been doing this for 20 plus years. And I love making movies. I love being on set. I love working with actors. But I'm telling you, if you learn how to put this technology and this power with your traditional storytelling skills, it's endless of what you can do creatively.
Dave, what I'm so struck about the first time that I saw the film, I was like, this location budget would have been insane if this was a traditional film. But you have all these stunning locations, but the character cohesion is so strong. Mm-hmm. So could you dig just a little bit deeper about how you make sure that you have consistency, the way they look, but also their facial expressions, their just general vibe, their essence, is really consistent throughout?
Yeah, no, I find if you really pay attention and put super detailed prompts for your characters, if they have a scar, if they have a mole somewhere, if they have tattoos somewhere, Liam's had a dragon tattoo that covered up his chest and his neck. I was able to consistently get that same tattoo that came from an image that was that I actually generated in Imagine, which is incredible. So I was able to take that image, but then put that into VO and then take that same character with the same tattoos. And I don't know if this is actually true, but it feels like once you're in a session, it seems to be more consistent. But if you leave and come back, I don't know how that works. Is that true? I don't want to give away any secret sauce.
If it works, it's true.
Okay. So I feel like it feels like it works, and it feels like it's helping me keep that consistency. But I actually wanted to challenge myself and try to create the entire film inside Flow. So I didn't actually use any outside tools like the Photoshops or anything of that nature. I wanted to try to do it all within Flow because I love constraints as a filmmaker and seeing what we could do. And you can truly live inside Flow, and you could also bring in tools like Junie and Henry did as well. But that's just the power of it. It's pretty incredible.
Just like prompting 101, are you using, he has the same tattoo, or you're describing the tattoo, or you're saving your prompts and touching back on them?
It's a combination of both. But I think the more you he has a leather coat, a regular leather coat, that's this color, this kind of tattoo, this type of mohawk, this type of expression.
Keep it descriptive.
Cool. It does pretty well with consistency.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you. And talking about stunning locations, Junie, your film is beautiful and it's very moving. And I every time I watch it, I'm very touched by the first time you see Grandma's hand. And you see the little baby name card. And we've just been through this whirlwind of time and place. So can you tell us about your inspiration and how you began to build out this multi-dimensional world?
Yes, hello everyone. First of all, I just a little bit introduce myself. I'm Junie. I'm an AI filmmaker, director, and production designer in fashion film, music video, and advertising production. I love using the latest technology and different kinds of digital media to push the boundary of storytelling. And I am deeply influenced by both East and the Western culture. So my main focus recently is about digital identity and the future of humanity. And actually, this year is my second time in Tribeca. Last year, I was also in Tribeca with another AI short film called Euler's Identity. Then this year, I am back again with my latest project with Google called Dear Strangers.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And then this ginger was inspired by my relationship with my grandmother and also the generation support among women in Asian society, which each generation unlive the next. I was born in a time that boys is more favored, but my grandmother still support me to pursuing my dream as becoming an artist. Before AI, actually, we barely have the opportunity to bring this kind of small but important voice and stories to feel, especially belong to women. So actually, my story is about to explore the universal love between a grandmother and grandchild across different kinds of universe. Because I have already been in an AI filmmaker for the past 3.5 years, people always ask me the same question: why you're using AI in AI filmmaking? So, and actually, this field is the answer of it. Because if without AI, I wouldn't be here today. And AI removes the traditional limitation about times, budget, and material and resource, and especially some of the unequal opportunities. And it allowed me to express something deeply personal, the memories about my grandmother. Some people is curious about how I make my structure. So before I start generation, I start to making a structure of my story. And then this story is actually take place in 2 different timelines. In 2035, my main character, Eden Bryce, is 35 years old and about to receive her Best Actress Award, which also trigger her a wave of surreal memory. And then in another timeline, in 1965, her grandmother, Grace Barr, is a train ticket inspector, pregnant and about to give birth. But when the train Grace was on, then crashed into a parallel world, time breaks open and memory began to fall into Eden's reality. Across season and dreamlike worlds, Eden searched for the woman who protect her with silent love. And then in the final part of the story, Eden is born on the same day her grandmother Grace passed away. Then the moment day 0, connecting their lives together forever. In the preparation part, I start to making a rough storyboard because because from the past time I usually working alone when I doing this AI filmmaking, but this time I want to do something differently, so I work with my editor. But how I communication with my editor is that first of all I make a rough storyboard, including my scene description and some of the sound design I was in my imagination. Then I want to mention that actually this is compared to traditional filmmaking, because traditional filmmaking, we used to make everything more detailed as possible. But for AI filmmaking, I would say that for myself, it is more about a structure than because AI just didn't bring 100% of what is in my head to life. And at the same time, I will also mention that I didn't see AI or flow as just a tool that bring some of my image in my mind to life. I see it more as a collaborator because it inspired me to new ideas, new possibility, and also opening up new different kinds of opportunity. So I would say the process is really flowing and hybrid.
Could you give us maybe an example of something that you didn't expect to be in the film that you found through the process of working in flow?
To be honest, actually, when I look back to my rough storyboard, I would say like 18% of it is not that match with what I original thinking, but it followed the structure of it. So before, based on the past feedback, what I got from my audience, people will love the Act 3 of my story. So I would love to share some trick on I want to share some 3 trick on how I make my Act 3. And the first trick I would want to show is that how I use one single image to create connecting shot. For example, my last shot is is a golden mountain in the cherry blossom forest. So what I thinking is the next shot, I want the mountain to be exposed and then a rock falling down from the mountain. Then I will use the same one single image. Then I will input the prompt of instantly turn off the scenes. Then following this prompt, I will type all the mountain exposed and a rock following from it. And then the generation will following the aesthetic of my input image, but also generating the content I need. And next trick is I want to share how I keep the consistent character and consistent scenes, is that I just Photoshop the grandma and the grandchild and the cherry blossom forest in a green screen background. Then I also using the instantly turn off scene text prompt to make it like transition into the content what I want. Then the last trick I want to share is that there's a lot of transition across season in my shots. So how I make this transition is I usually use the first and last frame. And then actually I would mention that the first and last frame is really power because you could kind of control how it transitions. For example, like from a jellyfish to a flower, you could type in bubble, firework, and any kind of different transition. Then it will make it smoothly with the other transition with what you text, following what you text input. Then I also want to mention that collaborating with Google has been an incredible memory experience. From the past 4 weeks, I actually not just as a filmmaker to complete a short film, but also as an active creative collaborator to create some feedback and suggestion to help build flow itself. And actually, there's a lot of scenes we worked together but didn't make it into the final cut. For example, like a cartoon universe and many other different kinds of universe that didn't make it to the final part. But it also inspired me to to my next project.
Oh, that's great.
When people ask me if anyone who want to step into AI filmmaking, so this is my advice for them, is that experiment, really explore broadly, break the rules and take the risks. And as a filmmaker, not just use the tool to creating beautiful visual, but instead to bringing more meaning into our life. This time I actually work with an editor, so maybe you're also interested about what is his perspective on working on this AI filmmaking project. And this is his original dialogue, is that I wasn't just editing footage. I collaborated closely with the director to shape scenes, performance, and shot choice. This process gave me more creative freedom and pushed me to think and create on a deeper level. It also required consistent adaptation, learning, and flexibility, moving beyond traditional editing methods. AI ability to deliver what you see is what you get experience, save time, and open up endless storytelling possibilities. And yes, okay. On the final part is that actually I have already been AI filmmaking for the 3.5 years, and this is some of the thought I believe, but they might be not 100% correct. But today I also want to share with you guys is that AI offering opportunity for truly talented creator from different backgrounds to be seen and recognized. Because from my past experience in traditional filmmaking, I always face the limitation of budget, resource, and materials, and unequal opportunity. But with AI, it just unlocks the limitation of it. It also expands human creativity to giving us access to different kinds of reality and and memories. I believe AI development is not just about automating tasks and making feel faster. Instead, AI is creating an entirely new forms of media and new mode of storytelling that we can't imagine and predict today. It is combining the film, gaming, and interactive experience. Go beyond than simply just creating existing media and story and film. It is expanding about the definition of what story could be. And actually, I think human has transitioned from a past where creativity was solely driven by humans' brain to a century that creativity was driven in the interconnection between humans' brain and intelligent machines' brain. And so this creation process, I am a human also involving with AI. And the next part is that I can't wait to see the dynamic, interactive, and living media for the next decade. Media will create more personal, detailed, and deeply connecting experience for between the real world and the creator. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Junie. There is so much intimacy in your film. Your film is extremely intimate. And I'm just wondering how those beliefs and those general philosophies connect with each of you as well.
I love what you say about experimenting freely. I feel like it's just a time to really explore as much as we can, try as many things as we can. And then also I think what I love about how generous both of y'all have been with sharing your process is that experimentation, and then evidence of how it was made is how we learn about it. It's like kind of how filmmakers have always learned collaboratively, coming together and teaching each other how to do things. So.
Yeah, and I'll just add, I like what you said exactly. It's an unlock. I'll just give one quick example. You know, right after the pandemic, I had a film greenlit that fell apart, and it was like a moment of me realizing, you know, I have 3 children. Am I going to continue film, or do I have to find a new job? Do I have to find a new way to take care of my family? And that's when I actually discovered AI. And then literally like maybe 6 months later, I get a call from Ridley Scott, and I'm like, okay. So first of all, the things I'm creating with this technology, one, all it's really doing is allowing me to get stories that I could never get in front of an executive. I could never get in front of a studio head because they just wouldn't take a meeting. Like who is this guy? But you put something out there and you have a story to tell, you'd better be damn sure you'll find your audience if it's good and if it's personal. And that's exactly what we felt from Junie's film and Henry's film. And I think we're going to see more of that, and that's the most exciting thing about this technology.
It's such a pleasure to have everyone here today. We are the just tipping point of this, right? So information, hearing from people that are using this actively, what they're learning. This group has been so candid, I think, about successes and adjustments and how the team works together to make flow improved, and it will continue to grow and change, right? So to be able to give you this peek here today, we hope that it's a little inspiration to dig in a bit more, ask questions, see what you like, work on your workflow, and let us know next year at Tribeca how things have changed for you, right? Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you all here today.